Hi everyone, my name is Anakin and I am the owner of Spearbear Studios, and for tonight I'm doing a longer video for you guys. This video is going to be an explanation of the classes, and I am going to do a quick character creation and kind of explain to you the process of making a character for Colonies and Conquerors, and also a little more in depth on certain things like stats, maybe some skills, but I will try to try to do some good detail and try not to rant too much. I'll try to be on point and explain to you those things and probably some choices I made as far as reason why. So for starters, we need to pick a class. Class is important. It's how your character is going to function and run, and what they're going to offer to the group of players you'll be playing with. In Counter Conquer, it's going to be set up where you have your tall tailor. Almost every RPG game is ran by a certain person. They're the storyteller. They're not really meant to be kind of like the asshole person, but they control the antagonists. They know the story, and their job is to try and make it a good time for themselves and for everyone at the table as like a host. But um, we need to choose a character class and be like, what character will I make and what will offer to the party. So, as I'll go down the list, so we have the soldier, which I think I mentioned before in a previous video. The soldier is like a formally trained military man. They know how to use all weapons, armor. They even know how to use firearms and guns because their guns were around at this time. The good old black powder stuff. So they're a formally trained fighter. They know all the equipment and everything. The next class is an inventor. So the inventor is all about crafting in this game. They can do a lot. However, they have a pretty hefty learning curve compared to other classes, but it's also one that once you have it down, they can do some of the biggest contributions to a group or to themselves because the sky's the limit basically on what you want to make. Your limitations, however, are um, they get a thing called tech points, and it's all the skills they have, and that kind of depends a little. Like at first level one here, you can make like some swords, some maybe a basic range weapon, nothing too crazy. But I actually did the stat like I actually figured out if you made a character and they ramped up to like 27 tech points, you could make like an AR 15 back in like whatever time period, 1700s, whatever. You're using way future technology, but it is possible with the inventor. But that's what they're about. They're about pushing the technology of that time and kind of being the reason why the world excelled from the Renaissance and Dark Age to where it is now. Because there were crazy inventors and crazy items that were really made in real life that I have no idea why, but people put money into them and it happened. Like Tsar cannons and duckfoot pistols, crazy stuff. But anyway, so the next one is like the priest. And the book it's actually priest slash nun, depending how you want to play pronoun. But this is a spellcasting character that is like someone of the Christian Catholic faith, that kind of organized religion. I mean, you can do other religions as well for that, but I wasn't like Christianity, Catholicism. I know that more than I know the other Abrahamic religions, and I might do a class built around those later. But like I said, I want to look into things and be respectful about them before I do anything like that. But we'll start with this one. So you could be like a priest or a nun of that faith, and yeah, you have spells. Your big main thing when choosing spells is you can do holy magic, and you get like blessings, and you can help people out that way. So the next class after that is the witch doctor. So the witch doctor is someone of like the African spiritual, tribal religions from there that came over to the Americas. Um, if you played this class, you would probably presume you're probably like someone of like African descent, which you could be. But you really can be anybody. You're just someone that picked up that faith. And historically, um, when it came to people that did like voodoo and that kind of thing, um, it was more accepted as long as you said that you worship the Lord and stuff like that. And it's crazy to think about like the Salem witch trials. That was unacceptable for witches. But when it came to like witch doctors, yeah, if you said you like worship the Lord and all that fun stuff, and you help the local politicians, a lot of them were okay. I mean, there were still touchy areas, but you definitely had a little more leeway. But yeah, the witch doctor is someone that follows voodoo magic and has curses. Next is the tribal warrior, which is kind of like your indigenous warrior. Um, Instead of being like military discipline like the soldier, you do not know all the weapons like the other guy does. You don't know guns, and you can't wear like the heaviest armor in the game as a tribal warrior. But the benefits that you do have is they get like a family clan bonus right from the get go, and they have a thing called Sturdy Warrior, which is the more fortitude you have, which is how strong and sturdy you are. It actually gives you an armor bonus, so that way you do have an amped up defense and can hold your own. The next is the shaman. So the shaman here is your spiritual leader for indigenous native groups. Um, for them, they cast spells, and also they get a family clan bonus as well. It's like the tribal warrior, but instead of you know centered on yourself, you can actually cast it as like a minor spell and cast it on other people. You can cast on yourself too, but you can actually hand your benefit out and try to boost and help your party. Next is the witch and wizard, which this stems from like people that have like the witchcraft ancestry families that go all the way back to like the old country and all the way back to Europe. So that's what it represents. I know like D&D, yeah, they have their own wizards and things like that, but they borrowed it from that kind of same notion. But yeah, so this is and then what you do here is you have your spells, but also you have an arcane ancestry that you choose as far as what family that you stem from. Doesn't mean your person needs to have that surname, but it's kind of the family lineage, and each family does their own special thing. This one's not really necessarily based on anything in real life. It was just I kind of went with some kind of cool names that people probably go with, and some cool functions and mechanics. Um, but so the next one here is the scoundrel. So scoundrels are represent your shady types, definitely opportunists, not necessarily lawbreakers or anything like that. I mean, they could be, but they are definitely the more questionable folk. They're not disciplined, but they are willing to get fight dirty, and that's their big thing. They get a thing called dirty fighting. If you catch someone by surprise, flanking them, or if you have an ally that's within like melee range with that target, you can apply your dirty fighting anytime that you can apply your dirty fighting damage to any attack that lands on that person. The other thing is School of Crime. It's what kind of scoundrel you are. Um, so and so these ones here, since scoundrel and those types are favorites, I'll mention them here. So the schools of crime here, you have a cut purse, which you get a +4 to pickpocketing rolls. You get a smuggler. Smugglers get a +4 to hide and deception skills. A thug gets a +4 to intimidation. Poachers get a +4 to spot rolls, and courtesan gets a +4 to seduction rolls. So that's how those ones are. Now we get to a good nice one here. So the martial artist. This one here, the martial artist is definitely cool. They're a hybrid class that's a mix of spell casting and fighting. And there is a reason why for that. So the reason why is because I kind of built in here that any like crazy like special moves that you would see in like a fighting game or something actually kind of function as a spell in this for this reason. So at first level you do not get any spells as a martial arts, but when second level hits and from that point on, you actually can get spells and you'll be able to use your spell points. And there's like some fighting move kind of spells in there, um but yeah, so and also you choose your fighting style at first level choosing a martial arts. So the three choices you have, you can be a kung fu, kind of the Asian fighting style. Well, I know there's so many styles, but this is kind of way to generalize and make it work for this. I might go further in depth later, but that's going to take research and a lot of time. But this worked for now. So anyway, there's kung fu, which you add your mind bones to defense rolls. There's pugilism, which instead you're like a old time boxer. You can add your fortitude bones to defense rolls, kind of like the tribal warrior has with sturdy warrior. And also there's a grappler. So this you can add an agility bonus to you trying to wrestle the person down, which considering in a game with like guns and weapons and all this fun stuff, might not seem too crazy, but you wrestling someone to get the upper hand can be quite devastating to them. And we'll explain more of that in a future video. So the other class after that, the final one, is the virtuoso, which is your artists and your culture people. They're another hybrid class. Instead of being necessarily fighting and magic, this one's more about skill and magic instead as the main focus. So at first level, you actually have to choose your art style, which there's crafters. So with crafting, you get a +4 bonus to all skill rolls when crafting items. The other is an actor. There's the actor, you get a +4 bonus on performance, acrobatics, and deception skill rolls. Now the other choice, your influence, how you affect the world around and the people depends on those two art styles. And so if you're an actor, you may do a performance as a primary action. It's no role needed. You'd spend your primary action to just inspire hope. Allies that are within 30 feet of you gain a 1d4 on all rolls that use a d20 for that function. So anything like attack, defense, spell power, and resistance rolls, you'll give a 1d4 bonus to those people for 1 round per virtuoso level. So you just do that, and it's a buff that'll last there for a little bit, but as you progress in the game, it can last a while. The other thing with influence is if you're a crafter. So the crafter does not do that performance or inspire like hope thing in the same way. Instead, it's in the items that you craft for people. So it's the opposite of the inventor, where the inventor is pushing technology. You're actually pushing on for like the beauty in items and art pieces that we do see in the world. I mean, we've all seen, the functional weapon next to like the really beautiful, great like gilded items and stuff like that. And that's where this comes into play. I mean, I know D&D has like bards and things like that, and this does take influence from there. But one thing that's always irked me is like, um, there wasn't a too much of a cultural item aspect of things. Like, yeah, there's beautiful stuff, and you can sell them for money, but it's like things do real life things. You look at cathedrals, and like those affect people. When Notre Dame was caught on fire, the whole world was like shook for a while, and it's things like that is kind of the inspiration for it. So, but yeah, with the crafter there, going crafter with virtuoso is you have to, um, you actually have to make an item, and it has to be good enough to get a master craft quality, which in the crafting rules it explains all that fun stuff. Um, if the easier the item to make, the easier for it to be a mastercraft. But yeah, anytime someone uses an item that you make that is that quality, they'll get a D4 added to those rolls that it's associated with the item. So if you make a weapon that's mastercraft, you're adding 1d4 to every time you attack. If you do that to armor, every time you roll defense, you're adding that D4. Um, but yeah, but at that point, it's not like hindered by a time limit. That thing is permanent unless that item is destroyed. So those are the two variations of that thing. And influence actually goes up higher and higher the more levels you gain as well. So that's how that works. So now that you know the 10 base classes, I'll go into advanced classes later. But I will choose a class here that does do a little bit of everything. So I'm going to explain to you guys some begin stats, a little bit about equipment choices, and also for picking some spells. Because that how I did spells in this is pretty cool and open compared to other things, I think. So what we will make a shaman character. So now you know shaman here. Let's take some stats here. I actually have a good old character sheet here. This is everything here. It's three sheets. So we got our stats and stuff. Skills are on the second one, and spells are on the third. That front sheet has like basically all the quick stuff that you would do generally anytime you're playing. So we'll make a shaman. And also I'll point out that this game does not have races like in other RPGs. Everyone's human. There are things down the line that can affect that, which I'll go into later probably, which that's like storytelling, role-playing stuff when we get there. But the reason why there's no races, like, I know, like, man, there was early debates early on in this game about like whether to do function like that for races, and I came down to point like, no, we can't. It's a for kind of anti-racist things. It's like, honestly, we are all one people. That's actually like, I know there's some crazy Anishinaabe and every native tribe has like a term for like one people. It's like, yes, even though we are like different pigments and color, we can actually all live together if we really tried. And but so that's why there's no races. Just we're all one people. I mean, everyone will have different stats in this game and things like that, but when it comes to that, it's kind of truth is like we could be better. Um, so yeah, that's why there's no races. I didn't do a race like Asian or Caucasian, whatever. No weird bonuses like that. So everyone's on the same playing field. It's just your choice where to put your stuff. So, but so yeah, and also as far as stats, there's two options for you to do them. One's a little more balanced than the other, and the reason why is this here. So when we look at the character creation page on page 4 in the Adventures rulebook, you can roll your stats or you can do the preset. The preset is the one it's balanced. You get a good couple stats, a good couple average stats, and two kind of iffy stats. But everyone's on the same page. And those stats are 8, 6, 5, 5, 5, 4, 3. And you can plug those wherever you'd like. Or we could do the nice gamble here. So, what it is, it's when it comes to rolling stats, you roll 1d6, add 2 to that roll, and that's it. Just record those, do that 7 times. And then afterwards, you can replace one of those rolls with an 8. So, either way, you're getting an 8 for sure. It's just, you're just hoping like hell that you have more higher rolls than lower ones. But for the sake of this video here, I'm not gonna sit down and do a bunch of rolls because, well, I have really no way to show you my rolls either. I could just be bullshitting you at that point. So we'll do the preset. So we'll start with the 8, since that's the best key one. So right now for shamans, if you go like mind, put your 8 in the mind, that gives you like higher skills, gives you some bonus spell points, or I could put into faith, and I'll actually explain the stats here. And so So you got might. Might is your physical prowess, um, how like strong you are. When it comes to melee attacks, it's the primary stat you'll be using for calculating attack and damage rolls. Agility, that's your hand-eye coordination. That one's and also your speed. So for your initiative rolls, for ranged attack and damage rolls, you'll need that for. Fortitude is how healthy you are, but also how tough. Um, High fortitude gives you bonus health, but also high fortitude gives you a natural damage reduction. Your body can take more trauma, and then if you get really high points, you actually have a natural regeneration as long as you don't die. Um, and then mind's like how intelligent and wise you are. Other games kind of have those as two separate stats, but I kind of merged them into one for this. Um, so as far as this with mind here, yeah, higher mind gives you more skill points to play around with, and also gives you bonus spell points. Now, a key thing here is, sorry, I got the mechanical pencil in the way. The key thing with having a high mind, no matter what character you are, you get those bonus spell points. So even if you play a soldier and you have bonus spell points, write them down. And the function why there is because there are certain spells and abilities that let you draw your spell points from other party members. So in a way, you could actually be helping a buddy if he's low on stuff and needs something in a pinch. He could sap you for that. Um, so yeah, and there's a couple other things that might function off of there. So even if you're whatever, one of the warrior combat classes, just write it down. You're not hurting anybody, and you're probably gonna help the group. So the other one's faith. Faith, it sounds like it's entirely religious stat, and it's not. It's actually kind of more of a measure of your confidence, faith in yourself or faith in something. Um, so you don't necessarily have to be a religious person to have high faith. It's just that it's your confidence in everything. But the reason why faith here is like when it came to like stories of stories of like possession or something weird like that, or dealing with the supernatural, it always came down to like basically low confidence people. It's like when stuff happened. So for this here, it's your ability to ward off those forces that are beyond explanation or spells. Um, so that's where faith comes in, and that actually might be a good thing for me, like for making this character. Put that in there, so if there's other spellcasters and things like that, I can try to fend them off. Now the next one's appeal. So appeal is how like charismatic you are. Could be how pretty, depending wherever you go. But that's this stat here. It's how you relate to other people. Now the benefits here with appeal is it does play on several things. So appeal, it doesn't just affect your social skills. That's the big one. Now the other thing, it actually affects your starting silver dollars. Now instead of gold or something like that in other games, the reason why I chose silver dollars was like during this time period, silver dollars were the main currency for several things. It might not exactly been like 1600s, but at some point, like the um, it's like the I forget what trading company is. It's kind of late, sorry, but eventually like silver dollars become like the mint and the main currency of the world at one time period, but it fits in this time period that the game is, so that's where the silver dollar is coming in. So, but with appeal here, it affects your starting silver dollars. So for every you will take your appeal score and times it by 50, and that's your starting money. Um, so if it's your dump stat, if you put a 3 in there, you're only working with 150 silver dollars to hopefully get your starting gear, and it can get kind of shitty. But that's the thing though. And then the other thing is that happens is it affects your availability for items at start. And because during this time period, a lot of places were putting restrictions on what kind of weapons you can buy and sell. In a lot of RPGs and D&D and stuff like that, if you have the money, you can kind of go free willy-nilly and just buy whatever, which fits for that setting. But historically, like crossbows and Like crossbows were dangerous. Crossbows were seen as um, they could be effective in anyone's hands. So those were put on like ban lists like right from the get go. Unless you knew somebody and had connections, you can get crossbows and things like that in real life. Nowadays you can go to a shop and things like that. But at that time, heavier weapons and ordnance were really kind of getting under control. But um, so your appeal affects starting money, affects the availability of items that you have. Um, if you when you guys like take a look in the book and everything, you'll see in the item charts they have an availability column and it'll show what things you can kind of play with at the beginning or not. The other thing is starting rep. So in Colonies of Conquerors, we do not have a good and evil alignment system like other things do. Really, now you're kind of the measure of whether you're good or evil is, or I guess you would say, depends on your reputations with the factions that you meet in your game. So, because in real life there really isn't necessarily good or evil. It's just kind of, you know, who are you on the good? Are you on someone's good side or not? So, and so like let's say your Telltale is running a game in Jamestown. Jamestown is a good one to start with when I've been like looking at things. Or other things could be like Santa Fe um, or New Amsterdam, which is New York nowadays. Um, but so the factions can be like a city, a settlement, could be a crazy group that is in there, whatever. But the factions are kind of your measure on like how the world is reacting to you, and the Telltale will explain that like as you do like missions and quests, or if your guys just do whatever shenanigans, it affects these factions and the world that you live in, and that's their way to respond to you. If you have a higher reputation with them, um, the reputation is measured in like higher points and everything, that you will get bonuses towards social skills with those people that follow that faction. If it's in the negative, you get penalized, and but also they can eventually hunt after you. You could be, or you could be barred from buying from those factions or settlements. They have that reputation, and also having a high rep with someone increase your availability to buy stuff through them because you know them, you're trusted, and that is how we're kind of dealing with the alignment thing that other games have. Whatever, it's based on your reputation with the different groups. And like in our Tuesday group that has been the main play testing for this game. Um, Sorry, I've been saying a lot. I'm going totally unscripted for this thing and just kind of winging it. But our Tuesday group, they had left Jamestown. They went and kind of saved this settlement called Ashspire, which is a fictional settlement, but there were many towns that did like start up and then just failed. So that's what this kind of was. But they end up going to this one town, saving it. So now that they had a reputation with Jamestown to start. Then now they have a reputation with Ashspire, which is this settlement that they're rebuilding. Some of the characters are even from the native tribes and are like emissaries of those tribes, trying to like figure out whether, okay, these colonists showed up, they are different than us, are they worth attacking, worth trading with? And that's where those characters come into. Doing it this way, it does, I will admit, like for whoever your Telltale is, they might have to do a tad bit of research. In the Telltale's book, I put in who are the like big major tribal groups and what settlements are good ones to start with because they've existed from that time period and they've somehow survived on to present day. So, but doing this a little bit, your Telltale might have to do like a little bit of work. The adventures that I put out will try to eliminate that as much as possible, but it makes a good role playing experience. Like right now with that Tuesday group, they say Ashspire. They found out that this like secret society was the cause for raiding this, trying to find an item, and they end up pushing back. They end up solving what was going on, But then a further thing, like I put in a few elements to throw off the party, and they end up going after one of them, which was end up finding out that this vampire family um, existed in Jamestown, but they end up being docile vampires. They weren't necessarily trying to be bad or anything. They just wanted to be left alone. But they got like wiped out, and they end up being like a big contributor to Jamestown and them getting resources. So the party like thought they were doing a good thing, and they just wrecked their reputation with Jamestown, and possibly threatened the colony. That's where we kind of left off. I'll go in more detail there later, but just showing how the rep is affected by it. A lot of people saw that they just like openly attacked. So right now Jamestown is really pissed off at them, and because they know that they were already in an iffy spot historically wise, and this just put them farther in the hole where they're almost doomed. And it's just by a couple of actions that the party thought were good, and it's just having some other repercussions in just how things were handled. But that leaves a lot of options for role playing and things like that, and that's why it was kind of built like that. Is yeah, there's no good or evil, um, you know, not in a set thing like that, but yeah, it's just how your actions are. So, and the other option, the other stat here, getting back to this, is luck. Um, Luck is and some games have a luck stat, other ones don't, and they kind of do weird dabbling. So, luck here in ours, luck deals mainly with gambling and the skill cut twist fate, which I'll explain later. Um, but the other big thing with luck is for every point above 5 gives you one daily reroll on a d20 die in for the day. So if you have a luck of 8, you have 3 daily rerolls that your character can do. So yeah, if you're in a pinch and you really need to roll better, you can burn one of those, and it doesn't take an interrupt. So you can essentially burn all 3 if you want. Just it's gotta be just on one of your rolls. Can't affect anyone else's. You gotta take perks and stuff like that to do other things like that, which we'll get into later. So now we know that. Um, Now to plug in which stats here. So, as I said, I'll actually put the 8 into faith. That way, characters resistant to things, and we'll do the 6 in mind. So now we'll go with our kind of iffy whatever. I'll say this character's not gonna be an upfront person, so we will put our 3 in might. They're not gonna do physical stuff, and we'll put the 4 in luck. They're gonna be too great there. So not gonna be lucky, not gonna be doing gambling, whatever. So we'll put the 5 in appeal, 5 in fortitude, and 5 in agility. That gives us, nice character where you're not necessarily hindered in some other things. So this is how the bonuses so you get like a little bonus off your stat, and this bonus is what actually applies to rolls. So if your character has a stat of 5, you don't get any bonus, no penalty, nothing fun. But you're not hindered. You're an average person. An average person, this is just all 5s. You're just going off rolls. But so for a might of 3, I get a -4. If my guy tries to swing an axe at someone, he's taking a -4 to that roll already, and a -4 to damage. Minimum of one damage, no matter how in the hole you are. But so -4 there. Agility is 5, so getting a bonus of 0. Fortitude is a 5, so no bonus there. Mind is a 6, so there's a bonus of 2. Faith is 8, so there's a bonus of 6. Appeal is 5, bonus 0. And luck is at -4, so there's a bonus of -2 there. So that's those stats there. So let's go back to classes. So for the shaman here, you're making a first level character straight out. When you look in the book, there's things for making a first level character, and then things for gaining a level. Um, so when you make a true first level character, you'll take the one. If you're, let's say you're going, let's say you have levels in priest, but you want to take a level in shaman as well. Um, when you multi-class, you won't do the making first level character stuff. You'll be just doing the gain level option and go from there. This game is built around for you to have a maximum of 30 character levels. But each class only goes up to 10. So you're going to have to multi-class, but it's also built around for you not to get penalized for it. And also, like, now look at the shaman here. You get a mastery of 1, you get family clan and spellcasting at level 1. Now you might be asking what mastery is. So mastery in this game is your guys' like actual kind of training or martial prowess. I haven't explained this on any like the websites or anything, so you're really only going to get this detail if you watch this video for right now or if you have a book. So mastery is similar to like kind of like proficiency or attack bonus that you would see in D&D. However, there are things that go off of this. So mastery applies to both your attack and your defense rolls at start. So even if you don't have like any armor on, your mastery can still apply to defense rolls because you're training for dodging, parrying, and doing things like that. So in this game, you can effectively make characters that like can defend or attack whatever with no armor on. Because this is one thing that irked me with like other game systems is like we've all seen like the Three Musketeers and like people sword fighting and things like that, and then a lot of times they're not sword fighting in like the heaviest armor, but somehow they're dodging blows and not hitting each other. And I don't think a lot of things necessarily convey that idea that well, but with this it works. But the other thing with mastery here is there are a lot of perks that allow you to stack your mastery on top of skill rolls and other rolls. So let's say like let's say you're tribal warrior. Sure, you're not gonna get like as many skills as the other classes are. Other ones have higher skill rates, whatever. But with that mastery, you can supplement that. So mastery is not just a two function thing. With perks, you can build it up to apply that to like athletic rolls, even will rolls to like resist being like persuaded and seduced or intimidated. It's to keep your mind right, basically, or head on your shoulders. But there's a lot of things you do. But that's what mastery does at first. It's for your attack rolls and your defense rolls. So right now I have a mastery of 1. Everyone starts with a mastery of 1 in the beginning. Sorry, excuse me for burping, geesh. So, but let's see. Let's choose our family clan here. So, I will choose. Let's see. We'll go with the lizard clan. We'll be lizard clan here for this person. So what lizard clan does is you can select a buddy. You can select anyone, but it's most likely going to be your friend. You select someone within 30 feet of you. Costs 1 spell point for you do, but you can make that person do an immediate bite attack against somebody that's within reach. They'll roll attack roll, and if it hits, they'll do 1d4 plus might bonus for damage and heal that amount. You essentially turn that person into like kind of like a cannibal for a brief moment. In our Tuesday group, we have one person here that I was about to say their name. I don't know if they're comfortable with it or not, so I'll hold. But they were having the joy of doing that to the other party members, because the other party members were not having it, but it was happening. So we'll choose that for the family clan. Now for the spellcasting part. So when it comes to spellcasting in this game, other games, you choose or you're forced to take like certain schools, whatever they call it. In here, it's the 8 spheres of magic. They're the 8 like generalization of things that like kind of form the world and all that fun stuff. So for spellcasting here, you can cast spells from 3 forms of magic. Since I'm a shaman, one of them has to be earth and nature spells and that kind of thing. The other 2 can be your choice, and that's how every spellcasting class runs in this. There is one that is a must. So if you're like the priest, you have to choose holy, or witch doctor will be unholy. Shaman, earth magic. The wizard witch they gotta choose arcane. Martial artists have to choose form, and virtuosos have to choose psychic. And that's how everything works. So like, yeah, for here I can choose. I have to take earth. I'll probably choose like fire and frost are my other 2 spheres, just to keep this nice and simple. Okay. So the other thing here is, I also know 3 plus my mind bonus for first level spells. So since my mind bonus is at 2, because I put a 6 in a stat, we start with 5 first level spells. So not too shabby. There you go. I'll make a little mark for that. And then each time you gain a level in this class, gain 2 new spells that you can cast. When you cast a spell, the maximum number of spell points used on spell is 4. This includes empowering spell. Now, the reason why for this is because in this game here, your spells, there's a general description, but at the bottom of every spell, well, most spells I should say, and I don't think not every, there's an empowering spell thing, which you actually have a choice to pump more spell points into certain spells to make them more powerful. It could be like a longer duration on spells, or it could be like more damage, things like that. But it's allow you to add a little more oomph to certain spells. And like at first level, there's a few spells you can do it with. You'll have a few that are just gonna hit that max right from the get go. But as you progress and later on, you might be like, well, I'll burn a little lower level spell, but I'll add a couple more spell points to it than cast a crazier higher level spell, depending on certain situations. So that's where that comes in. So I got 5 spells to choose. So we'll knock that out right now, actually. So we'll do 3 earth spells and 1 of the other ones. So for the earth spells here, just to keep this nice and simple, so we'll do refresh. That's a healing spell that doesn't cost anything, but you can empower it if need to be. So we'll do refresh, and we'll do falling rocks. That summons a bunch of rocks in a 5-foot radius and just pummels people. And then we'll do resist weapons 1. So what resist weapons does is you cause roots to grow out to resist some damage for the target. The target may reduce blunt, piercing, or slashing damage by 1. And then for each point you empower into it, increase how much you reduce by 1. It's an interrupt, so it's not something you like buff on somebody. It's at the moment someone's like actually taking a hit, you're just like try to reduce it a little bit. So there's that. Let's see, for fire. And we'll do like flame pulse for fire. That one shoots like a ring of fire around you to protect or hurt the people around you. And then we'll do icicle as my frost there. So what icicle does, it's a frost spell that lets you create like a shard of ice about the size of a small spear or dagger, and you can throw it at somebody. But the benefits here for like this kind of character where you have a high like decent mind, when using icicle you can use mind instead of like might or agility for calculating damage rolls. So it's like kind of like a weird odd like almost like a weapon thing, but spellcasters that generally stick far behind and are weak and frail physically can try to assist in that way. So that's what we got there. We got our spells taken care of. And then we'll knock out equipment here. So right now I got a peel of 5. So I got 250 silver dollars to spend, and I only get A availability stuff. So that's nothing too crazy. And then on top of it, shamans only know simple weapons, and they don't know any armor. So I'm pretty sure I'll take a look here and just make sure. Yep, no arm. Shamans cannot wear any armor at the start. They know simple weapons. And also in the game, there are languages as well. So, like, I could choose one language of my choice. And then, if you have a positive mind bonus, you get extra spells. Not extra spells, extra languages. So I will know 3, which right now for this setting, like, your Telltale would tell where you start and what languages are in the area. So for here, I would probably choose like Algonquin, Iroquoian, and probably English if it's in Jamestown. That way there is no language barrier and you could talk to people. Talk to everyone that kind of comes through. Whereas if we did a game on like Santa Fe that's in like the Spanish Empire territory, you would probably choose like Spanish and then, Siouan or whatever. As far as languages, when it came to like the tribal groups, there's a ton of tribes and there's a ton of weird dialects. So I end up finding like a lot of large groups are generalized into like Algonquin or Iroquoian, the kind of the core root for those languages, and that's what we're running for in this game. Just to keep it a little more easier on that note. But I know there's dialects and stuff like that with like every part of the world, but that way it's a little more manageable. So the other thing here is, as far as making a character, there is starting health and things like that. So for shamans here, starting health is 6 plus fortitude bonus, which I don't have any. So right now starting health is 6. Starting spell points is 8 plus my mind bonus. So right now I start with 10 there. And skill points is 7 plus mind bonus. So I have 9 skill points to play with. Alright. So that's everything there. So equipment wise, I got 250, but really don't have too much choices to play around with something. So, man. Heck, we'll just go with a club. Nice simple club. It's 1 silver piece for 1d4 damage. Minus 4 to attack. It's something. It's not anything too great to be happy with. Armor. Can't do anything there. Basically, at this point with the character, I'll probably hold money until I need it for like whatever crafting skills and stuff like that. But so that's what I got there. So I'll put 209. So for characters like this here, yeah, just kind of save your stuff for any like crafting tools you would need. You can even buy a mount and things like that. But that's where I would hold off for whatever the actual game is and see what's needed. But when it comes to like the skill points, you can put so many skill points into a skill that's equal to your character level plus 5. So at first level, you could do 6. If you're at level 30, you're going to have level 35. Excuse me 1 second here. Okay, I'm back. So as far as the skills go, I'll do a quick brief thing about them. I'll go more in depth later. So there's quite a bit. But like for might only has 4 skills. So there's athletics, climb, jump, and swim. The athletics is one where it's like, that's for doing some, athletic stuff, whatever. But the big thing is when it comes to like you wrestling and grappling other people, it will write off that stat. So another one, so like when it comes to agility skills, there's a good amount here. There's acrobatics, disable, drive, hide, open lock, pickpocket, ride, sneak, use rope. Sorry. Sorry about that. My cat was trying to get my attention quite a bit, but he's taken care of. So, when it comes to your agility skills, there are, I think I went through them. But anyway, acrobatics, that's doing like gymnastic stuff. Disable is for like jamming things. Like when it comes to like traps or weird mechanical devices. And you're not doing with any, you know, like skillful, like, well, I should say, it's not like you taking your time knowing how to break the machine down with like engineering or something. You're just wedging something and, going for the best. It'll shut down, but not properly. That's where that comes in. Drive is being able to do any vehicle, that doesn't require like animals in use or something like ships. That's where drive will come in. Open lock, that's for picking open locks, that kind of thing. Oh, pickpocketing people. Riding an animal. Sneak, that one there if you're like trying to be stealthy, that kind of thing. But the person does not have like line of sight of you and have you in visual. So like if you're in the darkness, thing like that, it's you actually trying to actively be quiet. And then oh yeah, and like hide, that one's there for like if someone does have a chance to actually spot you visually, you duck behind something and things like that. And also there's use rope, that's for tying people up, using rope as a lasso, using similar things in that fashion. That's where that skill comes in, as far as your knowledge of knots and things like that. Oh man, and this is gonna be a long one. The mind skills. So when it comes to mind stuff, that's where most of the crafting and knowledge stuff in the game. So the crafting skills are this: alchemy, art, blacksmithing, cooking, engineering, gunsmithing, jeweler, leatherworking, masonry, poison making, tailoring, woodworking. Those are the crafting skills that the game kind of rides on if you choose to make a character that does anything. And yeah, there's rules in there for making stuff that's in the item tables already. But if you don't see an item there that necessarily works for what you're trying to go for, you can do the custom item tables. And it applies to like everything, like even cooking. If you were like, I'm gonna make like an awesome beef jerky that's gonna heal you or whatever, you can follow the custom item table rules, and you're making a consumable item at that point. And it's pretty good thing. It's once you look at it and figure it out, it's not that hard to figure out. But I mean, I'm pretty happy about it. It took a lot to think of, but and to make it smooth and everything, but it works and it's awesome. I've been using that for pretty much every item and everything in the game rides off that, so it works. I even use it to put the stats up for this like Tsar cannon people were joking around about. So yeah, I used it to even put that in the game. So, but anyway, those are the crafting skills. Now, the other ones here, there's insight, investigation, insights for like detecting like lies on people, reading them, kind of going with your gut on things. Investigations, that's you actually like looking around thoroughly around stuff, piecing things together logically, like Sherlock Holmes. Now, for knowledge stuff, there's like mysticism, that's like your knowledge of magic and supernatural. The realms are like your knowledge of other existences. Um, I mean, other games they've like the planes and things like that are dimensions, but that's what the realms are, and that's kind of going with more of the Norse mythology, the view of it with Yggdrasil and the tree and all that fun stuff. Um, but so as far as the realms goes, your knowledge of okay our existence and what other existences are out there. The reason why I did this is like there are old like old stories about you going to other places, like realms of fairies and like a lot of Irish and Celtic stuff, and even Native Americans, like some things have like knowledge of other places far beyond and things like that, and that's where that's going. Um, so as far as realms, there's knowledge of religions. That's pretty straightforward. Science is, if like we've all we've all had moments where we try to apply stuff that we know into other games or whatever. In it could be a weird ass setting, whatever. Or back then, this kind of lets you do that. So if you have like a knowledge of physics or anything that falls in the science fields, like zoology with animals and psychology and things like that, they will fall into science. You can try to pull some facts out if you're taught Taylor Wanda and be like, yeah, that's. I mean, you could try to just distinguish radiation back in the 1600s. It's probably gonna be like a 100 difficulty roll, but you could try. And so it's things like that. That's where that skill would more come in. Um, so there's history. That one's pretty straightforward. Nautical is about your knowledge of seafaring ships, and you can also use it alternatively to it. Like if you're using like ship weapons and things like that, you can use it for attacks with those. And warfare is knowledge of weapons, guns, tactics, and you could use it as for your attack rolls for using siege weapons. Medicine, that's for healing people, treating disease, things like that. In other games, it really falls flat, but in this here, however, if you have a doctor's bag and you have points in it, you can actually effectively heal people without necessarily needing a spellcaster to heal. And it's probably been one of the best highlights of this game when people are whipping out doctor's bags and trying to patch people up that way. It's kind of a step outside realism because you're healing people pretty quick, but at the same time, it's like other things like you kind of waste your points and stuff putting. But with this, it works and it's awesome. Um, so survival, that's knowledge survival out the land, piece and things together like that. You can use it to like find yourself food. If you roll high enough, you can find enough food for the group you're with. That's what that's for. Use artifact is for using magical devices and things like that where your results are not cut and dry. There's a few items in the game, and there's gonna be more stuff later on where like, yeah, you can use this item, whatever. It's powerful. If you roll high enough, you'll get the desired effect. If you roll low, it's gonna backfire. But it's something that's more on your choice and where you result on a chart and things like that. And that's where use artifact will come in. Use technology is the same way as well. It's if you're using unstable stuff that are not like just simple on and off, that's where you use technology is going to come in. There's listen, which straightforward. That's you listen out for stuff, and that's also going against someone that's trying to sneak up on you. And spot is the same way. You noticing stuff visually, tracking, but if someone's trying to hide, that's a skill you would use to try to find them. So now for the appeal skills. Uh, there's deception. That's your ability to lie to people. Haggling. That's for you trying to like actually barter and try to get a better profit in the game. When you mostly try to sell stuff, it's going to be like half market value, like as a default. But this option here does allow you to try to haggle against whoever is you're selling your stuff to. But then you can come back risk if they end up beat. When you do a haggle, you're going against their haggle roll as well, and it's whoever can haggle the better out of the two. So if you fail on a haggle, you might end up having to pay more, and that sort of thing. So there's intimidation. That's you threatening people, going about that way. Perform. That's you acting, impersonating, that kind of thing. Persuasion, that's kind of you being nice, possibly a compromise when it comes to talking with people. There's seduction, that's you being like flirtatious, doing things that way to try to get what you want. But yeah, so now it comes to the faith skills, stuff that rides on confidence and how you are. Beast handling, when you dealing with animals and stuff like that, A lot of them reside on like if they can smell your fear or not, or how strong your character is a big thing when dealing with animals. That's why beast handling is there. Um, Ritual. This one can do many uses. So ritual, um, some magical stuff kind of deals with this, but the big thing is when it comes to enchanting items, which yes, that is a function of this game. Is there's not just crazy technology you can build up, but you can actually do enchanting. So if when you want to enchant something, it has to be a mastercraft. And you also need a item in the game called a divine tier. It's an essence of divinity from godlike beings and things like that. And that's like a possible thing in the loot tables and stuff. But anyway, you'll need ritual to actually enchant your items, but you don't necessarily need to be a spellcaster. You can enforce your will into items and things like that to give benefits, and that's where that falls in. And this other one's will. So will is your ability to keep your mindset and how you wanna, stay in function. And it's your defense against being persuaded, intimidated, or seduced. Um, and I got the whole party with a whole event where none of them had any will. None of them thought about putting anything in there until they all got seduced or whatever. But that's what happens. But that's what will's for. Will's to defend your character's ability to defend against being influenced by others. Um, Now for the luck skills, there's gambling, which that's pretty straightforward. When you're gambling, you're going against the gambling skills of other people around you, and twist fate is you pushing the boundaries of luck. So the best way I can explain this sort of thing is because it is kind of odd, but how it works is let's say you're doing that gambling roll. So you're gambling against somebody, and let's say you're only down by one. You can attempt to twist fate on your roll, but they can even attempt it as well. So twist fate, it burns your interrupt. So usually interrupts are like wait for like provoked attacks or certain spell triggers to like do certain things. But twist fate lets you use that interrupt as a further resource and other options. Anyone can do it. It just takes an interrupt. So if you twist fate, if you roll high, it can actually add a bonus to the original die roll that you did, the original skill roll. So you could be trying to get that extra 5 that you need, and things like that. It can get crazy. The bones get crazy higher the more points you put into twist fate. But the best way to think of it is the Domino character that we saw in like Deadpool, where her mutant power was luck and shit was just always going her way. Or you can think of like Jack Sparrow on like the Pirate of the Caribbean movies. And if I was trying to make him in this game, his character would be a luck based character through and through. But like if I tried to make like a character like that in D&D, you would not necessarily get that kind of luck feel off those characters, and that's why like this thing kind of works maybe better with things like that. Um, but those are the skills. They're there. It's quite a bit, but and the book gives more explanation on things and such. But anyway, I only got 9 skill points to burn, so Will's a good one. So I'll put 4 in there, and I'll put the other 5 that I had. I'll put that in ritual. So there we go. I have a couple cool things, and if enchanting does happen, my guy has a chance for it. But yeah, so there's that. Yeah, got spells done, got my equipment done, which I have plenty of silver here in case I need to buy them out or something else. But now I have pretty much a fully functional character. I didn't do any quirks or flaws. I just went with something that was nice in general. But yeah, got stats, got my health, got spell points, got spells, got skills, and I got my club for equipment. But yeah, so if I was like a tribal warrior and stuff, I probably would buy armor and stuff like that too, which I can't here. But that's okay. But yeah, those are just like kind of the quick steps for making a character. It doesn't take that long. I mean, with me explaining here, it took about an hour, but I mean, you can knock it out real quick. And also in the Adventures rulebook, there are pre-generated characters that follow the preset stats for each class. So if and there's even skills already picked out. So if you're someone that's entirely new to role playing games, or you're learning the system, want to take it there, you can do a pre-generated character and things are already made for you. Um, as far as the character sheets go, we do have them. They were not put in like the print for the books for the character sheets. You can get them on Patreon. If you support Spirit Bear Studio and even do like the $1 a month subscription, the character sheets will always be there. And honestly, like depending on feedback and things like that, I'll change them around, whatever. But they'll all be there and they'll be updated to like what the best that I can do or we can do, whatever. And but yeah, and also if you do the $5 tier, there's I will I've been uploading one shots for each month. So if you do play, and let's say you do want to attempt a tall tale and lead a group of people through a story, um, yeah, it's a nice, easier way to do it for you. And also, the tall tale book will have a starting adventure in it. I debate on making like I know like other things have done like a starter box, whatever. I'm like, eh. The Adventures Rule book, that's the largest book. It's going to be like 200 pages, or I think it's like 210 pages, is where that one's sat at. The Tall Tale book is going to be only like 60 pages, and the Creature Collection book, which is the next one I'm writing, will probably sit at 100 pages, and um, I mean, and that'll be pretty good, I think. But yeah, so if you want to like support us and you want to get like cool little freebies every month, then yeah, you can score the Patreon. If not, you can patiently wait for the books and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I've been trying to put a lot of good work into this for this thing for you guys. So anyway, so I know this was a long video, but if you stuck around through it, thank you. If not, it's okay. Thank you still for watching. And also have a good night. And if you have any questions, or anything like that, please feel free to comment, message me, whatever. And like, share, and subscribe as well. All right, have a good night.